What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. Welcome to your stimulus check update, stimulus package, and infrastructure update and daily news report for Tuesday, May 25th. Now, the GOP negotiators are actually disappointed with the $1.7 trillion infrastructure proposal that came from the Biden administration last week. But they do plan on meeting this morning to discuss their options moving forward. So later on today, I will have an update for you guys regarding what they discuss, and hopefully they will give us some type of update as to where they plan on moving kind of over the next week or so. We also know that Democrats say that Republicans have 2 to possibly 3 more weeks to start moving forward and start moving ahead with a bipartisan deal before Democrats leave it up to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer to start pushing forward without additional support. We also know currently the 2 biggest holdups right now in the infrastructure package. Number one are the size of the package. That is a big holdup for Republicans, and some Democrats say the size of the package either is too small or it's too large. The second holdup is how this will be paid for. We know Democrats want to tax the wealthy, and that's where the majority of the money is going to come from. However, Republicans say no, that is not something that they can support. And many experts believe that if the infrastructure package passes through a budget reconciliation, which as of right now, it has a higher chance of passing through budget reconciliation than through bipartisan support. Experts believe that then we will see much more in terms of additional relief for the American people. So what I can tell you right now is if you are in favor of stimulus checks, additional child tax credits, maybe even parent tax credits or any type of tax credit, if you're in favor of additional unemployment or anything in between, then yes, additional stimulus and relief would be coming only if we see this infrastructure package pass through a budget reconciliation, which as of right now, it looks highly likely. Now, we know Senator Bernie Sanders is a firm believer that having the wealthiest people in our country pay for the infrastructure package is essential. This has to happen because what he is saying is that right now, the average American worker is behind on their bills, yet the billionaires and multimillionaires of this country have been adding to their wealth, their net worth over the past year, which is true. Many of them have. So Bernie Sanders wants to see progressive policies adopted. He also says that billionaires need to pay their fair share of the tax. President Biden has come out multiple times over the past month or so and stated that anybody making less than $400,000 per year should not see an increase in their taxes. So right now, between Democrats and Republicans, the fight is on. And right now, Republicans are getting closer and closer to losing this battle. But again, in 2 to 3 weeks, that is what Democrats are currently giving the Republican Party to come back to the negotiation table, provide Democrats and the Biden administration with an acceptable proposal, and then they can work from there. If there is nothing on the table, there's nothing that shows we're getting closer to a deal, the Democratic Party and the Biden administration are just going to move on without them. So we know that Democrats are ready and willing to push forward with the budget reconciliation. They have been ready and willing ever since day one. However, it is President Biden that has been slowing the majority of Democrats down because he wants to do a bipartisan deal. Right now, how quickly they are planning on moving forward up to this point was unknown until yesterday, and that was when we heard that they have between 2 to possibly 3 weeks to get much closer to a deal. But the truth is that Democrats are not waiting 2 to 3 weeks. Democrats are already moving forward with their own plans. They're already putting together their own ideas, their own different policies. And so, if Republicans don't get back to the Democrats soon, then yes, they will move forward and Republicans will not be heard in this next package either. Republicans were very upset that during the American Rescue Plan, that they weren't heard. Their voices were not heard, and that was the reason why they didn't vote in favor of the bill. And right now, reports indicate that Republicans will not be heard again. And so this could create even more issues. But here's where things start to get a little bit tricky. This is where things get very interesting as we move forward. Experts believe that if Democrats move forward with a budget reconciliation, that there is a higher possibility of seeing additional stimulus checks. We could see things like a expansion of the child tax credit. That's that $3,600 per year child tax credit that we would start to see as monthly payments starting July 15th, according to the IRS. And that could be extended about 4 years. This could mean additional unemployment benefits or some form of benefits for the unemployed. And the reason why the reports are indicating that some form of benefits is because the typical unemployment insurance benefit, that is something that is being canceled by 23 Republican governors at this point. Florida was the state that decided to cancel yesterday. So again, right now, some lawmakers are just trying to figure out ways to provide for the American people that where Republicans cannot get in their way and intervene. So as we know more there, I promise I will fill you in on those details as well. But one of the big things that some are saying is that right now, the people on Medicare, Social Security beneficiaries, those are ones that are being impacted the most. And so what we are hearing is that if this goes through a budget reconciliation, we could potentially see a bigger expansion of Medicare. This means include vision, dental, and hearing, as well as lowering the eligibility age, which would be very beneficial to some middle-aged Americans. So right now, that is something that's on the table. We also know that people without families, those on Social Security, are being impacted the most. Even people that are in college, that just haven't started their family yet, don't have any children. They are being impacted, and this is what is currently being discussed. Lawmakers say that they will pass a bill with expanded child tax credits. They are also discussing passing a bill with tax credits for parents for child care and other things like that. We know that that's been discussed over the past probably 3 to 4 weeks. And lawmakers say we must provide for those without families. This is something that I've been saying for the past few weeks, is that there's discussions on this. But honestly, the discussions aren't going very far because Democrats are still waiting on the Republican side and the GOP negotiators to get back to them on what is their counter proposal. Chances are, just to give you an idea, now we don't know for sure, and we might know a little bit later on today, but as we know more, I promise I will fill you in on all the latest news and updates. But what I can tell you is that the Republican Party is not going to jump from $568 billion up to $1.5 trillion. They're just not going to do that. They may come in closer to $800 to maybe $1 trillion, but chances are the Democratic Party isn't going to come down from 1.7 down to 800 or $1 trillion. So it's going to have to settle between 1.2 to 1.5. And right now, reports indicate that the Republican Party will not go for that. So chances are this is going to go through a budget reconciliation. But here is where things get extremely interesting. This is where things start to get a little blurry, because this is starting to turn into, okay, well, if you don't do this for us, we are going to do this. So listen to this report. Right now, the Senate is working through the January 6th commission bill. This is the bill that is pretty much allowing it's that 9/11 style commission that people can look into the incident that happened in the Capitol on January 6th. Well, right now in the Senate, this is not looking like it's going to pass. There's actually only one Republican as of right now that stated he would support this. That is Senator Mitt Romney out of Utah. So what we know is that this bill is going to fall short. This will not pass through the Senate, which means there has to be some type of change if Democrats really want to see this be enacted. So Democrats, as of right now, are looking into their options to modify the filibuster. They do not want to completely get rid of the filibuster, but they want to make it where it's harder on the minority party as opposed to harder on the majority. This is something that would definitely favor Democrats at this time. So, because as of right now, if we can modify the filibuster, that's the only way that this January 6th commission bill would actually go through or have the ability to go through. That's the only way. So, if this happens, if we see a filibuster reform, because again, I do not expect that Democrats will get rid of the filibuster. I just don't see that happening. But I do anticipate there will be some type of filibuster reform. Senator Bernie Sanders, he's probably okay with a filibuster reform because he wants to get rid of it, right? We know Senator Joe Manchin wants to see it harder for the minority party to block things, right? And we know President Biden, he also wants to see some type of filibuster reform. He just doesn't want to do away with it. So here's what we know. If this happens and we see a filibuster reform, this also sets up the Democrats to pass additional legislation in the infrastructure package as well. This is huge, and this is where things get very interesting, because now with this filibuster reform, they wouldn't have to worry about, okay, we have to figure out a way to make sure this is going to affect the budget, the federal budget, because if it doesn't affect the federal budget, it cannot be included into the budget reconciliation. So there are several key agenda items as well on top of filibuster reform and all this other stuff. But this would include tighter gun laws, right? Voting rights, police reform, and other things like that. But again, these are all stuck in slow-moving bipartisan talks as well. But the filibuster reform could completely change this. So here's what this means. This means if we see a filibuster reform, chances are we will see the talks of a $15 minimum wage provision come back. We will also see, and right now we know many experts say that the minimum wage is something that we need to include into the next bill because it will be required depending on what or if there's another round of additional checks that is going to be sent out, and if rental assistance can start flowing a little sooner rather than later, because as of right now, it is going way too slow and it's not getting into the hands of landlords. So experts are saying right now, these rental assistance programs are not doing much. Congress has to do more. They have to provide more, not just for infrastructure. Infrastructure is key for building the economy, to get it to where we can compete with China and other countries like that. But the problem is infrastructure is going to take too long. And even though many experts believe infrastructure is the way to go, they also believe, and many economists believe, we have to provide additional stimulus to the American people today in order to see the success of the infrastructure, right? We have to provide more today. So here's what they're saying. Right now, rental assistance is going to be key. Lawmakers might have to go back in, modify the previous rental assistance packages because the money is not flowing as easily as many predicted. Many states are making the process way too difficult just to secure assistance. Some states are requiring so much paperwork that many of the tenants are finding that it's just not worth their trouble or their time. And because of this, we will most likely see a massive eviction crisis on our hands within the next 6 months. That is what experts are currently predicting. My expectation is between the next 6 months and about 18 months, we're going to see a big shift in housing. Whether this is, I don't see a housing market collapse. I don't see prices dropping 50%, maybe 10, 15%, yes. Too much more than that, probably not. Right? But I do see people are going to be evicted from their homes. Trying to get a new apartment after you've just been evicted is going to be extremely difficult. Many landlords are just going to start to sell their properties, try to cash out of them, just take the cash, right? Not the cash flow. And then this is going to cause, different type of housing crisis. So we'll see what happens there, but as we know more, I promise I will fill you in on those details as well. Let me give you some other news for today. Yesterday, President Biden signed the Alaska Tourism Act. This was done yesterday afternoon. This allows cruise ships to visit the state this year, the state of California. This also sets up cruises to Alaska for this summer. So yes, cruises can begin very soon. And estimates show that roughly 1 out of every 10 jobs in Alaska is tourism related. So this should actually see a big boost for their employment. Lawmakers are also saying in Massachusetts that they want to provide jobless workers with an additional $1,200 as a back-to-work style bonus. This is something that multiple states have been thinking about doing over the past couple of months. This is something that more states are actually looking into at this time. But Massachusetts, instead of just sending out a $1,200 check, back to work bonus, the day one that you go and get that job, Massachusetts actually has a different proposal and they have a different way of thinking. Some states are saying that if you just go back to work by July 4th, we will send you a $300 check, $600 check, $1,000 back to work bonus, $1,500 back to work style credit, right? There's all these different proposals. Here's what Massachusetts is talking about. Massachusetts says if you go back to work by September 4th, before September 4th, we will provide you with a $400 bonus or your check for going back to work, for securing a job. Well, that's great. That's $400. What about the other $800? Well, here's what we know. After 6 months, and you can prove that you've been employed for 6 months, you will get the other $400. Okay, well, that's $800. What about the last $400? Well, the state of Massachusetts says after the 1 year of continuous employment, you will be able to qualify for the last $400. That will be the $1,200 back to work bonus. So it's not essentially a back to work bonus. This is more of a $400 back to work bonus, and then more of a $600 or a $400 short-term employment bonus, and then a $400 long-term employment bonus as well. So again, $1,200 total. But that is the state of Massachusetts. Again, other states are trying something very similar, but they are using different rules or different guidelines as far as who's eligible and when you would actually get the payment. And as of Sunday, so we're a little bit late here, but I just wanted to bring this up because this was reported yesterday afternoon. As of Sunday, 25 states now have fully vaccinated at least 50% of their adult population. This is actually pretty big. President Biden wants to see us at 70% by the 4th of July, and this is for the entire United States adult population. So yes, and you may have guessed this, but the majority of these 25 states are run by a Democratic governor. So just to keep that in mind, it doesn't mean that just because you're a Republican, you cannot get the vaccine, or just because you're a Democrat, you have to. You have the option, you have the right. It's your body, it's your decision. If you want to get the vaccine, awesome, go and do it. If you don't want to get the vaccine, again, awesome, don't go and do it. It's really up to you, okay? It's really up to you whether you decide to do it or not. Right now, it's just about being safe, protecting yourself, and obviously, if we can protect people around us, great. But again, we have to protect ourselves first. Okay? If you cannot protect yourself, then there's no way you're going to help protect anybody else. So again, just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. If you have any questions, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing so I can continue to keep you updated on everything that's going on, and I'll see you guys on the next one.